The Butt Kicker Gamer 2. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
After a short break, we are back with the trucks and Xfinity cars around the virtual tracks of iRacing. We are back with the Precision Racing League Season 4 here on RaceSpotTV. I am Lorenzo Bonder. I'm with Dane Baird tonight over here to commentate this double duty racing at the Texas Motor Speedway, Dane, and it's going to be a quite interesting one. We're going to be taking our trucks and Xfinity cars. We're going to taking a real quick look on the schedule first. But Dane, always fun to start with a very good track. Texas, I love the track so far. Provides always some good racing, regardless of the cars that you're going to put inside. But we are looking right now at the Truck Series calendar, very similar to what is going to be on the Xfinity side. The two first rounds are pretty much similar, but always gonna be a banger season regardless of what the track is shown with these cars.
Yep, the circuits are looking pretty good for this these next 10 rounds of this truck series in the Precision Racing League. You can see all the circuits that we will be visiting over the course of the next few weeks and months, of course, there. And we'll take a look at the driver standings as well, Lorenzo, and it's quite close up at the top.
Yeah, it's quite close as we are looking right now at the full season, but this is season 4 of the truck series, basically. But Alan Dice is in first place with Kevin McGarvey in second, followed closely by Steve Loving. Just 10 points separate these drivers, but even more so, Hayden Palumbo trying to make a really good comeback with Dallas Sullivan, just separated by 1 point apiece. So nothing is decided over here in this championship, but one thing's going to be hard is try to follow the Loaded Dice team, which is, of course, headed by Alan Dice, Dane, which we've seen time and time again, not just in this season, but seasons prior, how good he can be with these truck cars.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, the team's championship, especially again in that midfield area, you got like the sort of 4, 5, 6 range as we saw in the drivers championship. Also very close, so also looking good, and we'll see how it ends as we are making our way towards the end of the overall season. It's a yearly series, and we are into the playoffs, Lorenzo, and we'll take a look at how those are lining up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be looking at the playoff standings, of course. Only those who make it to round 4 are actually fighting for the championship. Round 2 is going to be next week. Then round 3 at Iowa. Round 4 at Las Vegas with Alan Dice at the top of the standings with 65 plus points. Dallas Sullivan second. Like I said, Steve Lovey, McGarvey, Hunter with the very solid season so far, following close. But at the bottom, which is the top 16, is Thomas Brendel Tom East, Macy, Colton Easterday, and Oliver Goff. They probably won a really good race so far if they really want to make it to the top 12 that will be carry on through the rest of the season, Dane.
And as we take a look on track qualifying, I believe it's underway. However, we have had a lot of drivers already setting their lap. So we'll take a look and see just how that is playing out in just a moment.
Yeah, but more importantly, I really want to, before we even go through the qualifying itself, really want to give some thanks of our sponsors in this championship, right, Dane? So we have some really, let me bring them up. With Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Also, Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted by our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxingsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using Precision 5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. The Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Make a Sim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for high-end pedal set, handbrake, and sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware eShop right now till you get up to speed. Also, Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Well, we have basically our cars already done qualifying. We're probably going to be taking you through basically the order over here, Dane, as we're probably going to have up in the screen that really shortly.
Yep, absolutely. We will have a look at the starting grid very briefly here before we get underway here for this round at Texas. Lorenzo, take it away.
Yeah, of course, Dallas Sullivan with the resurgence that he probably needed to get it up at the top of the standings. One of the playoff drivers in first place. First row with Henning Palumbo on his side. Alan Dice is in third, followed by Brad Adams in fourth. Third row with Dennis Faircloth and Oliver Petit in sixth. Fourth row with Garrett Alston and Kevin McGarvey. Steve Lovin and Austin Hunter round out the top 10, with Eric Laga and Nick Socha on the sixth row, rounding out the top 12. Moving forward, Tommy Macy and Stephen Martinez is in 13 and 14. Row 8 is in Jon Mankowski and Andre Benacci in 16th. Matthew Karikoff and Richard Pruitt round out the 9th row here at Texas. Ryan Traver and Dylan Schmidt round out the top 20. Marty Culver and Stephen Kirby on the 11th row. Zach Pinzarella and Philip Beaver on the 12th row of the trucks. Mike Witt. Just, you can see the other drivers that probably sometimes, but the one important guy that didn't set a lap over here, and he's going to start all the way at the back, Colton Easterday. We saw him at the qualifying over here. Jane, not a lot of laps for you to do with these trucks, but if you really want to fight on this playoffs, what does Colton need to do for him to get a good result here at Texas?
Well, I think it's going to be, I guess, as always in these oval races, a race of attrition, you do not want to get caught up in any madness, especially not at the start of this 79-lap race. But pace car's making its way through 3 and 4 now. We're about to get underway.
No, absolutely. We're about to get underway. Just remembering, these truck cars, they take about 40 minutes around the track, so it's going to be a few pit stops here and there. Of course, yellow flags. Pace car is about to go in, so they're all just waiting for Barney, the flagman, to wave that green flag in. We're gonna have go green flag right now. So green flag, and we are underway at Texas Motor Speedway for 40 minutes of truck racing at the virtual Texas track. Already a few cars loose already up in the bottom. A few cars up in the back already having some crashes. You're gonna have already barely into lap number 1, Dave, but not surprisingly, our first yellow flag off this race is already out. With drivers already in the playoffs, from what it looks like, might have been Colton Easterday involved into this. I really want to look on the replay. What could have happened between some of these cars?
Yeah, it did not take long at all, did it? And it looks like we do have a little problem. Tower it's showing time instead of laps. We'll try and get that sorted for you. We'll also try and get you a replay of exactly what happened. It looked like it happened just a little bit further back. And some drivers making their way, unfortunately, already in this race, literally 2 corners into it, down onto pit road. So we'll try and see what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. We, like I said before, one of these things about the truck racing that I love about this car, and it's quite difficult for put it up with other cars, is how they handle the cold tires. I think it's a little bit different than handling the Xfinity cars. Obviously, the NASCAR sprint car cars, they are much more. How can I put it in better words? They are much more sensitive towards the input, so it's more natural for them to skid around the corner, especially in the first 2-3 laps where you see up the tires, and then naturally that's where the danger is going to be. I think that was the number 5 of Alan Dice that had some complications in 3rd place, dropped 4 spots back, but majorly that was issues, like I said, with Andre Benacci, Colton Easterday already involved into this, and a few others like Philip Beaver, Oliver Goff, and some other drivers that got caught up in the issue at lap 1.
But up at the top, it is still Dallas up at the front, leading things, and will lead us to the next green flag period. You can't imagine, Lorenzo, that anyone's going to be pitting during this first caution. I think that would be quite crazy of a strategy to try and pull off. Obviously, they've done half a lap on these tires, and obviously the fuel isn't going to be too bad either, so they're going to want to stay out for sure. Only a couple of drivers involved in that, and making their way down to pit road for repairs. But for everyone else, it's a second go at the race start. If you've got a bad launch, here's your time for redemption.
Of course, and this is one of the races, I think, if we get more yellow flags as it goes on, especially like maybe at the halfway point where you can make some gambles in terms of strategy, or even at the, like, just say we get our first restart, then we immediately get another yellow flag, then we can play with chess a little bit, because normally it's a lap in like 1 lap in 10 minutes, 1 lap in 20 minutes, 1 minute and 20 minutes. Seconds actually that you're gonna get of pace car laps, so you're gonna be burning up the fuel slowly, and with the pace car going around, like, just say 90 kilometers average, about, let's just say nearly 60 miles per hour, you can start to think maybe stretch out as much as you can that fuel, don't pit in, maybe try to go for the long way whenever we get like a second restart green flag. And we go all on a very long run. Those who have pitted earlier or on the first pit stop maybe are caught off by a wrong call, and the green flag kind of dictate how the race goes.
Yeah, the cautions definitely do play a huge role in the strategy for these truck drivers, and so we will see how that pans out if and when we do get some more cautions throughout the course of this race. We'll have to see. It's interesting that they're still too wide up at the front this entire caution period. So, I mean, technically they should be single file, the 25 dropping back. Hayden Palumbo just slightly creeping in front of Sullivan there up at the top, and I don't know, maybe some mind games coming out of play there, but we'll see as they come across the line now. I would expect that at this point the lights on the pace car will go out and we'll get ready.
There we go.
Too wide for a restart come the end of this one.
No, absolutely. Just going quickly through the calendar over here, like I said before, I mentioned we guys saw at the beginning of the broadcast, but I'm going quickly. We start at Texas, then we go to Talladega, Iowa, Las Vegas round 4, Homestead Miami round 5, Martinsville Phoenix Raceway with the dog leg, so that is open. The iRacing Super Speedway, I can't wait to see that going on. And then we have Dover, a small break for Thanksgiving, and our final round is at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So mostly fast tracks for the truck season, but those who like basically, you know, start at the front or going side by side at the very beginning and try to dictate some very, very heavy lines into some kind of a argy-bargy racing, I'm probably gonna love this calendar into this final quarter of the annual truck season here at the Precision Racing League. Dane, pace car is about to go win. What do we expect from this restart real quick?
Well, if the race start was anything to go by, you expect some carnage, but I expect that they'll all be taking a little bit more caution now, and they'll make it a nice clean one for us. I'm interested to see what the 25 of Hayden can do from the outside.
No, absolutely. As Dallas Sullivan is going to have control of this grid, we are going to have our green flag. We are underway once again. Our first restart here at Texas Motor Speedway. Brad Adams already placing that car on the inside of Colombo. Let's just see how they will negotiate the first two corners around the Texan track, nearly making contact. Colombo Adams now Faircloth on the third line on the bottom, nearly making 3 wide as Faircloth now ducks back, loses his spot to Petit. The number 58 now moves to 4th place, and we are now with one green flag lap underway, all done. Dane, a much more calm start than probably wanted to, but for Colombo, not the launch that he wanted.
Yeah, not indeed. You could see a massive jump by Sullivan up at the front there. As soon as he was into that restart zone, floored the gas and away he went. Already got half a second worth of gap up at the front, doing a very good job on that restart. Mostly single file now in your field. Look a little bit further back, but they're still battling side by side for the time being as they make their way through now. Here looking at Jake Mackey in the number 14 machine, down in 25th place at the minute, but we're looking to make his way up through the field as well.
No, absolutely. And one driver that caught himself maybe into the situation of, you know, being bunched up in this restart was Alan Dice, was in 7th place, now dropped back to 9. But being the leader of the Sandies, you kind of have that control. You know, you can control your own fate a little bit. So you don't have to necessarily win for you to move forward like some other drivers like Goff and other ones who caught themselves early and needed the points for them to be within the playoffs. But so far, some of these drivers like Easter Day as well, not having the brightest of luck at the very start of this race. And let's see how the other drivers that need points will move forward in this playoffs. Has small contact on the bottom from what it looks like from one of the cars, but we still are green all the way from what it looks like the number 93 car of John Manikowski that basically caught himself with a contact and lost one spot and also lost some ground. Yeah,
didn't quite catch the contact, but you could definitely see slowing down, lost the pack in front for now, managed to keep ahead of the car behind as well, up ahead of that one, which is crucial for his race, and staying with that pack in front. Now can look forwards as well because they're side by side in front, they're side by side behind as well, but we'll take a look further up. The double O side by side with the 53.
Yeah, 53 over here fighting for 15th spot. Nearly we carry Koff falling on the side. The 109 as well. Putting that car is going to go maybe into 17th place. The 53 ducked back into P18. But still not in the woods just yet. And this is another thing, and I think we're going to be seeing a trend for a race like this. Early attacks into this race. Any mistake on the long run is going to be punishable by offense because you need tires, as Faircloth now moves one spot. But the thing is a super speedway on its nature because of its size, but in true reality with the trucks, it's a tire race all the way.
Yep, sort of in a weird place, Texas, where it's got the high bank, but it isn't quite as long as the other circuits. It's similar in that sense to Atlanta, as we've got side by side 2 rows back now. We're looking here at Oliver Pettit here in P6 at the moment, looking to get ahead of McCarvey, and they're side by side behind as well, just like Austin and Loving.
Yeah, and meanwhile, up in the front, Palumbo now takes the lead of this race. Palumbo on the outside, Sullivan on the outside, Palumbo on the inside. He has quarter panel out. Palumbo now leading with some comfort. Not a lot of comfort, as he's followed closely by Sullivan and Adams, as we have about 29 minutes laps to go. And right now, Palumbo just taking some lead laps, and Dice having the resurgence of the race so far from 9th all the way back to 6th place.
Looking to the outside once again, in a circuit where they use the traction compound in the real world to try and help that outside lane be a little bit more effective. It's one of the big weaknesses of Texas Motor Speedway since they did the whole revamp of it and changed up all the corners. It tends to go to that single file traffic that you see all too often on the intermediate circuits, but the drivers are going to provide quite a good show for today in the trucks, and they already have been with a couple of swaps back and forth. They're making some swaps and passes a bit further back in the field as well, but we'll keep an eye on this lead battle as Sullivan tries to hang on for that second place, but I think Adams is going to put him under some pressure here.
No, I think Adams is probably going to cook him a little bit with that Toyota Tundra car, which is going to be quite an interesting one for us to break down, because like I said before, this is the tire track. You basically, at the early portions of the race where you're still building up the tires, you might go side by side with more frequency than usual in a race like this, and after that it becomes one groove race, then a second groove race. Is going to be quite an interesting one to kind of break down. Maybe drivers using the outside lane a little bit more than usual whenever the tires are properly, worn, and maybe might be the faster line on a long run. But Texas provides a packed racing feel of sorts that not many tracks in the NASCAR calendar kind of provides for the drivers. You might be in first, but never comfortable and never out of the woods. Even if you might be like 0.8 of a second, 0.9 of a second, even a full second out, you're never safe at Texas because of just how the track drives, rather than any other track of the season.
Yep, it's the high banking that does that for you, and it does provide some interesting characteristics to the circuit that not a lot of the other intermediate circuits have. They're often more or less banked. You've got some of the other circuits, maybe variable bank, but Texas is in a bit of a league of its own there. It's quite wide as well. Makes for an interesting challenge for these drivers. It doesn't look like too many drivers trying anything other than that bottom lane for now. However, as I say, that Faircloth is looking to do exactly that. Has got a switchback here on Adams and actually gets up the inside onto the other side of the circuit on the main straight through the D and up into third place.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice move from Faircloth right there. Just playing his dues, but here comes the car getting somewhat wiggly at the exit of turn number 2. Here comes Adams on the inside, quarter panel out, and there goes 23 catching his third spot back from the number 80.
They're side by side further back as well. Dice and McCarvey are going at it, and we'll take a look at that as well. They're almost going to go 3 wide through the D and in towards turn 1, and McCarvey can lose another spot here, pet it to the inside and pet it up into that 6th position for now. We'll see what the exit of the corner looks like, but definitely some racing going on here. You got side by side and very close action just behind them too.
No, absolutely, and this is really good stuff. We're seeing early on, the trucks kind of give you that more driver feel racing that normally the Xfinity cars and the NASCAR sprint cars does not provide, even though they are more, what should I say, aerodynamically capable than a more rude or more raw truck car does provide. As we're still going forward, nearly 25 minutes left into this race. We're nearly halfway through here, Dane. When do we expect drivers, now that we are green flag more constantly, to come to the pit lanes? I know long run maybe lasts about 40 lap, 30 lap ish with these cars, 30, 40 laps ish with these truck cars. That should be about like 10 more minutes or so of racing before they come in for their pit stops.
Yeah, I can get behind that. That sounds quite reasonable as they start to single file out here on the circuit. All of this racing that these drivers have been doing, looking especially at Adams and Faircloth, because they've been trying to catch up to the lead too, and also been going back and forth between each other, trying out different lines in the circuit. It's going to be having a bigger effect on those tires as well. So we'll see exactly how that ends up panning out, with 24 minutes left of this race, or about 53 laps, whichever comes first. And I think we're going to have a time-limited race here for sure, especially after that first caution. They're going to go side by side, back up in front of here as well, I believe, in a second, as it looks like Faircloth and actually Dice moving up into 4th position. We'll take a look at that down the inside.
And here comes the leader of the championship with that 5 car with the stickers up in the top, that remind him that he's in the playoffs over here. 16 drivers fighting for the PRL truck playoff season. Now you can see Faircloth being one of the first cars to adopt a very, very high line, which, like I said before, might become a more preferred line, as, you know, you save some more tires, you know, like I said before, Dane, it becomes more natural groove. It might be the faster groove prior to coming to the pit lane, because, you know, you become faster by diving the car into the inside lane on the entries of turn number 1 and 2, but it becomes more difficult to remain on that line fast and smooth once the tires build in their heats properly. And like I said, Faircloth having a little bit of an issue with the back of the car, slides a little bit, keeps the car onto the track, keeps within the back end of Dives, but might lose the ground to Pettit, because Pettit is on the inside of that number 80 car, nearly making contact whenever they rejoin the tri-oval.
Yep, side by side, really sticking to that high line as Faircloth, and I'm not sure how well it's working, because it seems to be going backwards, and it's going to lose another position there. McGarvey to the inside. Yes, you will get a bit of a run when you come down off the banking, but I'm not sure if the banking is actually steep enough here on the exits of the corners out of 2 and 4 to actually be that effective, and still going backwards there. I'm not too sure the high line or the mid line is working just well enough at this point. And drivers on the low side definitely seem to have that advantage coming through the corners. A little bit more even here with McGarvey, and he does poke the nose of the car, the front bumper up in front for the time being, but as soon as they into the corner, turn number 1, and McGarvey back in front, here comes Loving and Austin as well, looking to make up some moves.
Yeah, not only Loving as well, but not far behind is Gary Austin in the number 34 car. You can see at the tip of this car train, you can look at the number 34, just looking for ways to try to get in on the inside and maybe overtake the number 80. But just wondering how much of a punishment has those rears from Faircloth took in the line, wherever he was in that outside line push, and this kid, after losing the position to Dyson, try to follow him, has prejudiced the car, as now Steve Loving's going to be on the inside. The number 27 puts in the car side by side. There you go. Loving might have an advantage once coming out because of the draft itself, but because of the run, Faircloth will provisionally remain on that 7th spot. That is now Tommy Macy. Moves up 1 spot, and it says Karikoff is the first car to duck into the pit lane, probably for a pit stop, but I really want to know what happened to that Matthew Karikoff car.
Yep, into pits, and I'm not seeing anyone else head down there just yet, so I'm not sure if maybe it's just an early stop, or if we'll see very soon if these drivers up here towards the front make their way down to pit road anytime soon. But we have actually reached that sort of halfway point in the race, so this could be definitely a strategy move. We'll have to wait and find out, as they did go briefly side by side up at the front. Not sure if that was a tactical switch around or if it was just a bit of a mistake into turn 1, but the gap was a good couple tenths per second, and now it is still a couple tenths per second, just the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of a switchback between Sullivan and Palumbo, but still separates about a quarter of a second between both of them. So, like, 2-3 car separates the number 46 to number 25. And one thing to mention over here, which is quite cool, we're going to have a talk with Zach Pensarella after this race is done, between this race and the Xfinity race. You can see some cars running with the 44 stick, supporting the number 44 car, which is the car of CM Pennington, as he is one of the drivers here in the NASCAR series. He's kind of having a hard time. He has a bad cancer diagnosis. Just I wish him a speedy recovery. I saw his son, Marcus Pennington, here on our broadcast chat. So really looking forward, and I'd also like to see the support that the drivers here in this championship are giving towards the need of a driver that is going through a rough time.
I'm starting to see a couple more drivers make their way down to the pit lane. So I reckon that was strategy that we saw from Karakov, because it looks like they've made their way down into the pit lane. It would not surprise me if we start seeing these front runners make their way through there too. One thing I did want to touch on real quick is Sullivan has pulled up a 6/10 gap to Palumbo. I think he was just doing some tire saving, and now towards the end of the stint.
Oh, Fairclaw having some issues there. Dane just getting the car now into the inside lane. He's gonna lose 1, maybe 2 spots over here. And you can see the car nearly veering into the lane of Austin, nearly making contact, but fortunately the number 80 keeps that car on the track. But it's getting dangerous for the number 80. I think definitely the skids that he done trying to follow him dice have been hurtful enough on those rears that now he's in a world of pain. And in Texas, it's very hard for you to recover once you skid the car heavily.
Ooh.
You can see more now that I think that is basically Pettit or Loving that had some contact into the wall. Or actually, McGarvey having
I think it was McGarvey that had contact with the walls. Definitely got very loose and straight down towards the apron. Kept it going in a somewhat straight line. But yeah, the tires definitely starting to go off. I think that's for sure. We've got a couple drivers down now into the pit lane, or a lot of drivers into the pit lane actually. I think 3, 4, 5 maybe heading down into the pits just behind this top group, but no one there yet. Sullivan has built up a second lead out in front, heading through turns 3 and 4 now is the 46, and Palumbo is under threat for that second position as we make our way into what is definitely the pit window in this truck race. Adams closing in on that second place.
Absolutely. Also switch back of positions as Panzarella goes into P12, overtaking Marty Culver. But a resurgence of Dallas Sullivan over here just breaking away from Palumbo. Now Palumbo trying to fight back, going into a more aggressive lane onto turn number 1 and number 2. But the gap is somewhat manageable for the number 46 to survive, as now he's probably going to get overtaken by the 223 car, which was one of the first cars like Rodrigo Morales that had the incident early on in the race, was 2 laps out. Let's see that new rubber going into action as now Loving comes into the pit lane, first driver of the top 10, making that move into that pit stall and doing his service halfway through into this race. 16 minutes and 45 seconds remaining.
Yep, so surely we're going to start seeing our front runners come through now. That looks like a truck that is slowing down to me, and yes, absolutely. Sullivan into the pits and will be followed by pretty much everybody, but not everybody.
Yeah, Pettit, Austin, Faircloth staking through that longer run. Really interested to see how Faircloth is going to manage with the injury on those tires, see how fast and effective he can be. But Pettit and Austin, I kind of predicted him to stay in the track a little bit more. They're doing very well so far, but now you can see them migrate into the pit lane. Pettit's going to lose to Austin by being more conservative to the pit lane entry, or because Texas is one of those tracks that you can go 2 ways over here, but it's very hard for you to miss the pit lane entry if you just go way too heavy into the pit lane entry and miss a braking spot onto the yellow cone.
Sullivan out of the pit box, out onto the racetrack on the back stretch now, and has still got quite a bit of a gap to Palumbo behind. It's looking like around 7/10 of a second or so, and so a good pit box, pit window there, good stop, gets out nice and tidy in front. So we'll take a look and see where Pettit can come out, because he was quite a few positions back when the pit window started, and we'll see now a lot of wheel spin out of the box and making way through now, as Austin as well actually gets out well ahead out onto the back stretch. And where is everybody else that's already pitted coming through?
except for Faircloth and Macy and Timothy Manuel, which we can say kind of like you go for a very different strategy. We also Schmidt's Pelt haven't pitted just yet. It's now the Socha. Nick Socha is another card that is into the lane right now doing his service, but Faircloth betting on a potential yellow flag to try to, you know, break away and with a 1 lap gap on everybody else and be safe for the remainder of this race and get some precious points into this start of this fourth quarter of the annual truck championship.
Something that I do want to touch on, Karakov, who we're looking at right now, pitted way before everybody else. I'm talking way before everybody else. And actually came out well ahead of our leaders, is now getting overtaken for position by what was previously the lead pack. So this 00 car here, getting all over the white line, all over the apron, very untidy there, and maybe giving the drivers on the outside a bit of a scare, but all works out in the end. But still only a couple of seconds behind now our lead pack, so much better position than where they were before. If we do get a caution, they'll be in a good spot towards the end of the race. But now is where it's going to get interesting, Lorenzo, where we've got Sullivan, Palumbo, Loving, those guys up at the top of this lead pack that has pitted, and they have unlapped themselves already, and they are very quick out there compared to the overall race leader, who is Faircloth, and wow, that was close across the line.
Yeah, that was really, really close. Nearly, you know, photo finish between both of us. Now Palumbo will take the lead, well, the provisional lead here in this race, or net lead, once the Faircloth and Macy, Emmanuel, and Schmidt come into the box. But yeah, new tire, new life, more grip and faster cars you're naturally going to have on the competition. So we still need to see where and when does Faircloth come to do his service, as now the battle is brewing up even more. As you can see now, that Steve Loving on the outside is going to have this run on the number 46. Does Loving have the car necessary and grip necessary to make that overtake? So far, not a chance for the number 27. He remains behind Dallas Sullivan and Hayden Palumbo for that top 3 spot.
Faircloth still not pitting, and I'm genuinely surprised he's able to keep the car on the circuit. He's losing a good 2 seconds a lap to this pack, but 2 seconds a lap, 12 minutes to go. That's about 24 laps or so. If we get a caution, Faircloth puts himself into such a good position, but it is a massive gamble because right now he's losing time and losing more time and losing more time. Getting unlapped time is also going to put him in a bit of a worse situation, but the second a caution flag comes out between now and the end of the race before he pits, he's in a fantastic position. Get down to pit road, get some fresh tires on, and not have too many cars between him and the leaders. So that's the ideal situation that Faircloth is hoping for in that number 18, running the mid to high line. It's very different to what everyone else is doing, but maybe it pays off. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. One certainty in life is he needs to pit. He has to pit. You cannot make with the field guys that you have going on, unless you are like Alexander Rossi, like back in when he won the Indy 500 and he saved his life in terms of fuel and got away unscathed with the fuel strategy when. But doesn't look like it's gonna be the case over here, because 10 minutes you have approximately like, give or take, about 15-ish laps. We have a yellow flag, and this could be a game changer. This could change everything, as the number 7 has some issues, and now more drivers having issues at the front stretch.
Wreck out of turn 4, I think.
Wow. Is that... I was going to say McGarvey's car, but no. Really looking forward to see on the replay. But now Faircloth, well, talk about miracles. Do you believe in miracles? Wow. Yeah,
that was... It looked like quite a few cars were involved in that. I saw 3 or 4 cars, I think, on the grass through the D. And so we'll see. I'll see if I can grab us up a replay of what happened there. But now Faircloth has not a free pit stop, but a pit stop where he's going to have quite a bit of an advantage over some of the drivers that he was around. And we'll see whereabouts he's able to come out. Is he going to be able to come down to pit road this time is my question. He gets held up by the pace car. Pit road is closed. Oh. Is it closed? The red lights are on.
No. The red lights might be on, but I think it might be on for some of the other cars. Now, here comes Faircloth and Macy Manuel. Eventually going to see Schmidt as well coming into the box, but we had already our first lap under the safety car, so I'm not surprised to see them coming to the pit stop and getting what would be a free pass on the pit lane. And now that number 80 becomes a high favorite. Well, other people coming in: Alan Dice, Kevin McGarvey, Steve Lovin, Sullivan coming into the box as well, maybe putting only 2 tires rather than 4. Palumbo stays out. Palumbo now with the gamble over here to try to win this race.
That is very,
very interesting.
I was not expecting that. I mean,
Go ahead.
They were in a tricky spot. I didn't think that they were all just going to pit like that. I thought they were going to have for Faircloth to end up in second on strategy with the caution. Massive gamble, and it paid off. And I'm all here for it.
No. That is like it's kind of like whenever you're playing chess and you sacrifice your queen, expecting like a major blunder or something like that, and you whenever that blunder happens, your world, and you detect that blunder, you basically now go for, all right, this game is mine, and I got now the game plan going on. This is now Faircloth's game. I'm really looking forward to see how Palumbo defends the position, because we have to take into consideration that number 25 car and the other ones that have pitted a few minutes back, like about 6 minutes back. They still have some rubber in those tires, so they can still compete. But this track, like many other tracks, is the right sides make a lot of a difference. They do come to life whenever you get like maybe 12 laps into the stint. So those who have more rubber at the start might actually have a long run advantage. So it's going to be quite of an interesting one to see Faircloth and Macy Manuel, and I would maybe even say Alan Dice be very aggressive, as I think they only put 2 tires on this pit stop, and Palumbo might have to defend with his life the next 6 minutes into this race whenever we go green flag for our second restart here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway.
So whilst the drivers are trying to get sorted out and the virtual iRacing race control figure out where everybody should be on the circuit, we are going to take a little look at a replay of the incident that caused this pace period. We'll have a look at it now as they're making their way out of turn 4, Lorenzo.
That looks like to be the number 22 car making contact. One of the playoff drivers, unfortunately, making that unfortunate contact. Well, one thing that is very hard for you to navigate yourself is 3 don't make 2 and usually don't make 1 at Texas, so it's very hard for you to stay side by side. And that was Brad Adams' car that made the contact, and unfortunately Adams just having a world of hurt here in the start of the playoff season for him, and that could be very harmful, as we're going to get green flag in a little bit here, Dane.
Yeah, we certainly are. Faircloth on the outside of this front row. Palumbo on the inside with taking the lead off the pack as soon as the pace car pulls down onto pit road, but on 12 lap older tires. And that is the main thing as we'll get going with about 5 minutes, maybe 4.5 minutes by the time we get round there, left in this race. It is going to be a sprint to the finish. Less than 10 laps in this one for sure. Can Palumbo hold on to a decent finish? I don't think there's a possibility of a win on the cards here, but we'll wait and see as the 25 takes control of the field.
Absolutely. He's probably going to break away as we're going to have green flag right now. He dictates the grid. And here we go. Green flag, very late green flag for the number 25. And basically kind of, you know, catches the field halfway unguarded, as you can see drivers trying to move it up and early. That looked like to be Emmanuel trying to make some moves. But still going, and we have more. Another yellow flag, and now here becomes that kind of race of yellow flag races breed more yellow flags.
Trying to figure out what the yellow is for.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anyone drop down the timing just yet. Maybe
Same.
that is strange. But we'll try and figure out what the cause of it was. But
can I see one more thing though?
Go for it.
This put me a team foil hat, but this is over a minute lap on a yellow flag run. We might actually have seen the race ender or very close towards the race end here at Texas Motor Speedway. This might be it.
That's true. This might be it. We'll have to wait and see how many laps that the race control decides, the virtual race control decides is enough for this pace period. I don't think anybody is going to pit.
No,
right?
No, that would be
ridiculous for anyone to pit now.
That's a better word. I thought about other words, but they would not be PG-13.
I'm still trying to figure out what we got. It must have been someone got sideways and got put straight again.
Yeah, maybe kind of like a pit maneuver of sorts at the start of the race, and even though everybody got away unscathed, that was enough to trigger the yellow flag just because of the potential danger that you would have. You can see Morales getting the wave around. He was the lucky dog, so we expect to see the number 223 maybe be that guy.
We might get a lap here.
We might get 2 laps.
So we're not gonna. Yes, actually, yeah. So we're not gonna go green this time by. But
no,
we
we're not.
might go 2 by 2 this time by. If they've already sent the lucky dog around, no one pitted. I was watching the timing. No one's gone down to pit road.
I'm not gonna lie. If that thing goes around 1 minute and 40, we're gonna have probably a potential green-white checker situation over here. If we go around 1 minute and 30, it's still maybe quite in the dangerous, looming large. Maybe we'll see how this will go. You know. Put team foil hats for everyone, but this is gonna be quite interesting. Let's look at what Benny, the pace lap car, is going. So still not out. So that is dictated by iRacing.
That's it then.
Yeah, that might be it. That might be it. So we might have our race might be official over here unless we have a special green-white checker rule. But I haven't seen that being played out on either Truck Series or Xfinity Series on ovals. So Hayden Palumbo might have gotten away with this one on a very, very late. It's the green flag to yellow flag restart.
Well, if Faircloth just not pitting for 10 minutes after everybody else was a gamble, right? And a gamble that paid off.
Oh, yeah.
Palumbo not pitting whilst everybody else did is arguably a bigger gamble. And there's no way that both of their gambles have paid off, right? Right?
Yeah, I see what I'm trying. Yeah, you're making a lot of sense. You're making a lot of sense, and that is kind of like I'm frowning my head.
That's a masterclass by both of them. Faircloth has no right to be in second place right now.
Yeah. Because Benny is gonna put that car with about 2 minutes, 2 seconds, 3 seconds after this race is done. So here we go. Time is running out. Yeah, yellow flag is still going on. White flag is out. You can see by Barney, he's still waving that white flag. So this race is basically official. Palumbo is gonna win this one. So got away and skate. That is, what can we say? The ultimate all-in, and it paid off.
By both of them, both of our top two. Palumbo
absolutely
should not be in first position right now after that restart. Without a caution immediately after the restart, Faircloth, you've got a Macy, Loving, they're all going forwards, right? They're all moving forwards. None of them are staying behind Palumbo for 5 minutes under green. And Faircloth was, well, down in what, P8, P9 by the time the pit window started? Because those tires were really gone. And yet somehow,
some way,
they've both made their way up onto the front row of this field as we come around turns 3 and 4 to finish this race under caution. That's crazy.
Very unusual finish, as now Benny is going around turn number 3. You can see followed by Hayden Palumbo. So as once he comes in, we're gonna have green and checkered, and that is pretty much the race done. But the ultimate gamble paid off. He's put his chips on the table. Everything worked for the number 25, and Hayden Palumbo is going to be your race winner here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Dennis Faircloth in second, and Tom and Macy also with another huge gamble. Playoff driver coming out at the other end of the podium in third place.
What a race. We had some good driving out there today and some wild strategy calls that have paid off, and that is crazy. I was definitely not expecting that to happen. I was fully ready to watch Hayden Palumbo drop down through the order, but no, what we get is Palumbo up at the top, and that is incredible for the driver of that number 25 machine. Crossing the line once again here into the infield section. Are we going to see a burnout or some donuts?
Oh,
what are we going to get? What are we going to get?
Oh, as another driver had another idea, and now Palumbo, you know, placing his car for pictures. Now here comes the donut. Very well earned donuts for Hayden Palumbo, as he takes the checkered flag here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway for the first win of season 4 here at the Precision Racing League Truck Series. But as we said, annual series, and for that number 25, all points matter, and he's gonna love that win regardless.
Well, now we have a bit of a conundrum. Because I'm looking at iRacing right now, and the results screen is showing something ever so slightly different. We'll take a look at the race results then, Lorenzo, and this is what it's showing on iRacing as well. I'm not sure if this is a bug or if they maybe had some penalties that we did not know about.
All right, Tom and Macy is in first place. Steve Lovey in second. Timothy Manuel in third. Dallas Sullivan in fourth. Kevin McGarty fifth. Alan Dice in sixth. Richard Pruitt in seventh. Dylan Schmidt in eighth. Mike Witt and Oliver Patton round out the top 10. And we're going to look at the other drivers. We had more than 30 cars started this race. We're not going to probably going to be able to go through everything, but you can see the important one. Hayden Palumbo in 20th, 1 lap down. So looking forward to see what happened, because not only him, but I'm 100% sure that you might see Faircloth in there as well, and other drivers that remain out as well, like Jake Mackey, Marty Calvert, Karikoff. You can even see Adams and maybe Minkowski that also remained, you know, that late pit stop, you know, into the field. So having some timing issues by iRacing, and like I said before, most unusual and curious Indeed.
Yeah, that is definitely a strange one. There is the last few drivers. A lot of those drivers ending up in some instances that we have had, and that is definitely a strange one. That is for sure. I don't think I've seen anything like that before. We'll see what ends up happening with these race results at a little bit of a later time. But Lorenzo, we've got a couple of drivers before we make our way to Xfinity Series and get those cars out on the track. We've got a little bit of time for some interviews with the drivers. So if you wouldn't mind doing the honors.
No, absolutely. Let me bring first over here Thomas and Macy. So Thomas, first and foremost, congratulations. From what I've heard, top 3, you know, that major gamble paying off. How does that feel?
Well, it's hard to believe it, but man, I feel like I was truly blessed on that one. I mean, really do feel like I was truly blessed. I committed to stay out there, you know, when everybody was making the stops, and said, hey, I'm not pitting until I need to, and it paid off.
No, absolutely. And for you, if we're looking at playoff picture, you know, Tom, that is huge. You know, it puts you in a more comfortable spot on the top 16. We know top 12 is what matters the most. How does that feel, having that third spot, maybe a little bit more secured in points in comparison to other drivers that, you know, made the same gamble but didn't come out on top like you did?
Right now, you know, it's just words can't describe it. I mean, I'm thrilled to death, and we'll see. You know, we got a long ways to go, but you know, this is a good start. Absolutely.
Yeah, and before we let you go, Talladega talks about it. What do you think about the super speedway and all the drafting and bumping?
Well, I'm kind of solo this year. I don't have a teammate, so I'm not going to have any help. So I'm going to have to just, you know, maybe pair up with some guys and try to ride up to the front until the last thing happens.
Well, if there's a time to make friends, it's now, and maybe at the race as well. Tom, you're gonna have some time until then. But nevertheless, thank you for taking your time, and congratulations on your potential from top 3, from what I've been told. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you very much, and y'all do a fantastic job, and appreciate everything that y'all do.
Absolutely. As now we're gonna move into, I saw for a little bit Faircloth, but I don't think he's here anymore. So I'm gonna bring the winner of this race, which is going to be, you know, Hayden Palumbo, into the broadcast booth. Hayden, let me just ask you something. Are you a poker player?
I mean, I've played my fair share of poke.
Fair enough. Man, talk us through about this race. You had a tremendous race, fighting in the front with Sullivan basically all race long. Dick, you know, put back a little bit. I think when Sullivan started to get a little bit more late race surge, but the ultimate gamble, you know, staying out after everybody pitted on the late yellow flag. Talk us through, was that intentional, and how concerned were you if that had gone green all the way?
I mean, to be honest with you, it was a nobody really knew what was going on. Is the best way that I understand what's going on. I don't really know. I mean, I was pretty worried about it, knowing fortunately I had 3 or 4 trucks that I know me and Dallas and Steve were all faster than, between myself and Dallas and Steve. So I wasn't super worried about it, but you know, it was just a little bit of fear in there that, you know, if they got a good run out of 1 and 2, that they were going to run me down. So.
No, absolutely. But all the it goes well, ends well. So you basically got the win. Now, before we move, we'll let you go to rest a little bit. Any concerns about the Talladega at all on the super speedway?
Not at all. It's just go to the front and stay in the front. That's the plan. So we're going to make it happen.
We'll see about that in 1 week time. But regardless, enjoy your win, Hayden. Congratulations on that all in, and we'll see what you come up with next week.
All right. Thank you, sir.
No problem. As that was the winner of this race, Hayden Palumbo. And we got 2 more guys that we want to bring in as we're going to make this transition to Xfinity, as we're already seeing some of the cars already on the on the screen. We're going to bring Zach Panzarella and Marcus Pennington to talk about this, action that this, movement that we're seeing. Some of the cars, put the number 44, Racing for 44. Zach, you are the guy that had the forefront for this idea. Talk us through about, giving the support for one of your fellow comrades here at the Precision Racing League in CM Pennington.
Yeah, thank you guys for the time. I appreciate it. Sam is, anyone that's raced with him for more than one race knows how incredible of a person he is, how generous he is, how much fun he is, hilarious. Just one of the greatest dudes I've ever met. So when we got this awful news about him, which I'm not sure if you guys have shared, but I'll let Marcus do it if you'd like.
Yeah.
It obviously was crushing, but we just wanted to show him how much love we have, how much support he has in this league, how many people care so deeply about him. And it's been so incredible. I can't thank you guys enough over at RaceSpot. I can't thank PRL enough, Whataback Racing, the rest of the team DDI for all their support, getting everybody together. I know you're about to see a bunch of tribute schemes in the Xfinity series with Whataback, which is incredible. And
Yeah.
it's so special and it means a ton to us. And the 44 ever is just, that was his number with us. And for as long as we have CM, we wanted to know how much we love him. And whenever the day is that he's no longer with us, he will still be in our hearts forever. And the league will never be the same. And yeah, that's pretty much what the 44 ever means to us. It means the DDI and how we came up with it.
That's good to know. But Marcus, very, very rough times around there, but the support of the community is always great, is always welcome. And talk us through about, having the support, being one of the guys that seeing that number 44 being raced in name of your pops.
I appreciate everybody for doing this because he told me that he loved you guys so much, and he even got me to download iRacing and spot for him a few times.
Nice.
Which was great. And seeing everybody, I reached out to Abner Acosta to give everybody the news, and he was the one who got it to y'all. So I appreciate him for what he's done for this situation. I mean, it's a very terrible situation, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's done this and raced with him. It means a lot to him, and it means a lot to me that you guys did this.
No, absolutely. And it's always cool to see the community coming together and always in support of the driver in times of need. Always good to see that. So I'll thank you both, and well, see you guys for broadcast.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Much love, CM. We love you.
Yes, thank you guys. I love you, Dad.
As we had the interview with both Marcus Pennington and Zach Panzarella, now we move into Xfinity here, Dane. Same track. The only thing that changes is the car. We go from trucks to Xfinity cars as qualify is underway. What can we expect from these high-powered, raw, in terms of aerodynamics, but more raw-powered Xfinity cars?
Yeah, well, for starters, I think the first thing is a little bit more speed and probably a little bit more experimentation with the lines that we'll be seeing from the drivers out there on the circuit. I think the extra speed that the drivers are carrying is going to go play a bigger role in this one. We'll see how the tire strategy evolves as well. But let's quickly take a look once again at the schedule for the Xfinity series.
Oh,
We've got those 10 circuits heading us into late November. Lorenzo, what do you think?
No, it's going to be quite cool. As I said before, the first two tracks are basically the same ones as we're going to see in the truck season, but then we break into Charlotte, Las Vegas, Homestead. Then we go to Martinsville, Phoenix with the open dogleg. Now Chicagoland, Dover, and finally we have a little small break for Thanksgiving, and we're back with the Auto Club being the final race of the season. A few different tracks that we saw trucks. It starts at here in Texas, ends at California, but we can see Abner Acosta being the high favorite in this championship. Richard Reagan also being one of the drivers that follow him close. Bradley Holly, Jeff Ennis fought very closely as well. But the one driver you really don't want to be is Reese Bogue, as he followed closely by Nicholas Hunter, Jim Westerfield, Doug Evans, and Mike Knight, which are probably looking forward here, Dane, to have really good race in this annual championship in the NASCAR Xfinity series for the playoff start. So can't wait to see what those 4 cars have in store for Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, that's for sure. The playoffs always an interesting topic. There's a lot of people that love the playoff system. There's a lot of people that don't. Personally, as someone who likes to watch quite a bit of NASCAR, I love it. I know
I like it as well.
People say it's not real competition, but I love it. I think it provides a great spectacle, and it means you have to be consistent all the way to the end of the series. You can't end up in a situation where there's 5-6 races to go and you've already won. What's the point of even showing up at that point, right? This at least makes sure that all of the races at the end of the season still matter. And I think that's something that I really do like.
No, I like that format as well. You know, you have to be consistent and you know, being committed to the cause every single time that you go by. We saw the majority of the drivers didn't qualify for what it looks like here, Dane. And I think we even saw a few. We're gonna probably see a few like throwback liveries, like Penzarella has said with the CM Pennington's car on the Whataback team. But from what it looks like to be, the majority of the grid is done. And what do we have in store so far in terms of qualifying? Talk us through it.
Yeah, well, we'll grab that up, shall we, onto our timing tower. And as the clock ticks down, we've got about 40 seconds after qualifying, but I do believe that almost everybody has made their way already into the pit lane, and I don't think anybody else is going to be making their way around any further. A little bit quicker for the lap times here, only slightly though, not a massive amount. Obviously, it's not exactly the biggest difference, I would say, between the trucks and the Xfinity cars, but even still, I'm quite surprised that the gap is as small as it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, 2,500 of a second between Powell and Richard Reagan Jr. and nearly a full tenth of a second separating Reagan to Acosta. You know, is quite interesting. But Reagan is going to be very, you know, happy to have this first, you know, pole position here at the start of the 4th quarter of the Xfinity season, as we're going to have our grid lined up to us in a short bit. As I just said, Richard Reagan Jr. is going to be your leading car. Don't mind the cars itself. They're not the trucks, but they're Xfinity, with Sean Powell in second place, Abner Acosta in third, Bradley Holly in fourth, Justin Scruggs and Jeff Evans on the third row. Moving forward here in this race, we're gonna get the other cars in a short bit. Just bear with us. You know, live stuff can always be
Fun.
Fun. Yeah, you said it best. But actually, one thing we can talk about while we're still bringing up the grid for everybody to see, is how the fact that even though you might be at the middle of the pack, that doesn't consider you out. We saw a driver that started in the middle of the pack, back of the pack, like Tommy Macy, and driving that top 3. So gambles over here can still work. It's also a timed race as well. 15 minutes around the virtual Texas Motor Speedway here, Dane. So we can definitely see more of these funky strategies, of course. Might not be the case with the Xfinity cars. The level is slightly a little bit higher. Not saying that it's maybe as equal as in the truck series, but still the drivers are committed to the cause over here, and I can't wait to see basically 20 plus cars drive around the Texans track in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting race. We already saw the trucks. Obviously, they had a little bit of trouble at the beginning and right at the end, keeping it in a straight line. Not entirely sure what brought out the last caution. Still, I mean, I've gone back and searched through some footage. I still haven't actually found anything. But hopefully the Xfinity guys can keep it a little bit cleaner. A slightly longer race, potentially, here as well for the drivers. The pace car pulls away, and they get ready for their pace lap.
No, absolutely. And as you're already seeing some of the drivers, you know. Now here we go with the starting grid. Like I said before, Richard Reagan, Sean Powell, Abner Costa, Bradley Holly, Dustin Scruggs, and Jeff Evans. Then top 6, Mike Gagnon, Matt Gagnon, Reese Bogue, Nick Silver might not ride out the top 10. Adam Zenke and Brett Poncari on the 6th row here. Joey Tebben, or race spot zone, Joey Tebben with Chad
Hey.
Lowendick. On the 7th row, James Morgan, Thomas Singh, Daniel Knight, and Chad Kibbe are rounding out the top 18. Top 20 with Colton Lane and Patrick Cowgill. Over here, Doug Evans, Mark Kalin on the 11th row, Denny Cervantes and Nicholas Hunter on the 12th row. Nick McLaughlin not having the brightest of a qualify over here, with Waylon Turner on row 13, Nick Byer, Jim Westerfield, John T. Jones, and someone else on the top 30. I missed the name. I apologize in advance. Tyler Justice and Dominic Begin on with the 32 cars, 16 rows, 32 cars here on the field. Benny is on turn number 3. Put a favor over here, Dane. Who do you got?
Oh, I think off the start, it's got to be the car on the inside. I think it's got to be the car on the inside. Reagan's going to have a good start here.
Yeah, so basically he dictates the field as we're going to get green flag. We are underway for 50 minutes at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, and we already can see, Regan trying to break himself away as a cost already on the inside of Sean Powell. Are we going to see a early yellow flag on this one as they go out of turn number 2? We see nearly 3 wide up in the back. Yeah, we see 3 wide in the back going for 7th, 8th, maybe 9th place over here on the track. But everybody so far running clean so far as we're going to wrap lap number 1 as Reagan still in the lead of this race.
Well, there's absolute chaos out there at the start of this one. We obviously didn't see this in the truck race. We didn't get 2 corners before the caution flag came out. But with 49 minutes on the clock, we are still going here. And there are so many cars and such a tight pack here so far, especially in this midfield to rear of the field. It is fantastic to see as they make their way through 3 and 4 for the second time. We finished lap 2 of this race already. And it is still, if we have a look up at the front, Reagan Jr. in that first position. Got a good launch, and Acosta up into second.
Absolutely. As we're quickly looking to Joey Stebbins' very, very inspiring time new Roman delivery. That is something that is normally on the Waterback team with Tad Lowendick as well. Going up 1 spot, actually losing 1 spot, but nevertheless still in the hunt over here. Now we normally probably going to see a quiet race up at the top 5. Normally you're going to see the resurgence of Abner Acosta once that tire he builds in and get more grip. Maybe the number 5 coming in closer and try to battle with the number 56, as we know this is the battle of the playoffs here in a nutshell. Dane, as Reagan and Acosta were those 2 drivers that stood at the top of the pile basically all season long, all annual season long, duking it out on the track, fighting for victories, where for the time being Acosta being the driver up in the top of the spot most of the time.
Yeah, and these 2 as well, looking pretty handy, of course, up at the top of the standings. Also good in the playoff standings as well, which obviously is probably more important at this point. It doesn't really matter too much what you've done for the rest of the season. You've qualified for the playoffs. Now all that matters is what you do from here. And Acosta with at 107-point gap to the buffer line. Obviously, very, very helpful indeed. And a solid 20 or so points ahead of Reagan Jr. up at the top of the playoff standing for now. But that 107-point gap to the cut line means that you're going to have a very good time of things making your way out of this round of 16. It is bunching up a little bit further back. We'll take a look here at just around the 10th, 11th place mark. You've got Nick Silver here in 11th in that number 24 machine, looking very handy.
And you can see Joey trying to make that overtake on the outside lane. We're going to normally see 2 lanes going up in the early portion of this race in the first few laps. But maybe that might become a more single line into the inside like we saw at the trucks at some points. But surely the single file of the cars is something that it will dictate how this race goes. Drivers checking themselves up, trying not to keep themselves off guard. The dirty area over here is going to be quite important for you to navigate towards, especially at the second half of the stint, who get the brighter tire investment might come out on top, as now Joey already taking the far outside line what we normally see line number 3 here in Texas, for him to stay within the pack itself.
Yep, and that high line work. It's kind of working. Definitely working better than Faircloth in the truck race, right? I mean, that it looked like it wasn't working. The tires weren't happy with it, and I'm not sure why he continued with that. We didn't get to speak to him after that race, of course, but Joey backing out of that one down to the bottom as the 24 actually of Nick Silver goes up to the high line. So this is going to be interesting now. A little bit of a role reversal here.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. I think that number 12 for James Morgan, putting the number 24 Nick Silver on the outside, so he has to get off a little bit. Don't waste a lot of rubber and stress the car as much as bad as you want. In the beginning of this race, we saw that, like you just said, with Faircloth, didn't work so far. Of course, it worked him at the end of things. Got second place into the truck race, but these are different beasts, different cars, different grid. So looking forward to see if somebody is going to take high gambles whenever we start the second half of the stint with the Xfinity cars. As Acosta still trying to chase Richard Reagan Jr., but the field's somewhat more packed up than normally is here at Texas. Of course, Xfinity cars does provide more of a pack race, should I say, than the early portions of a race than normally what the NASCAR Cup Series car does, or even the trucks itself kind of provides. But it's what matters is longevity with these cars. They have more raw power. They have less aerodynamic grip. They look like what they look like in terms of technical design. They look like the 2000 S cars, like the Gen 5 cars or Gen 4 cars in terms of raw power, but they also lack that aerodynamic that the NASCAR Cup car does. So becoming more of a driver car that if you know the ARCA cars nowadays in iRacing, you can get yourself away just fine over here as well. As we see the driver of Colton Lane with that, from what it looks like, that looks like to be a livery paying homage to Tennessee, University of Tennessee itself, or the University of Texas. It's either or. I know it's either the Vols or the Texas itself, the Longhorns.
I would not have the faintest of an idea, but what I do know is that Colton finds himself right above the cut line in the playoffs as it stands now. 4 points between himself and Reese Bogue, and yeah, Reese doing a pretty good job at the moment, up into 7. And so Colton Lane, it is looking a little bit sketchy right now as to their playoff standing. So we'll keep an eye on how that plays out as well. Yep. But some drivers, it's mostly single file, but we do have some drivers still trying to make side-by-side work. If we go a little bit further back, we've got Chad Keeb here, and they're making their way side-by-side. The 23 machine looking high, looking low, looking for a switchback here out of 4 maybe, trying to get some extra speed down onto the infield, into the D.
But doesn't look like he's going to get that run he probably wants to over here. But nevertheless, number 33 with the 23 livery, making homage to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. 23 makes a lot of sense for him to pay that homage. Let's see what Keebang has in the long run. I think he's one of the drivers in the playoffs and need a really good result. Meanwhile, Ted Lowendick struggling into this early portion of the race, barely 10 minutes driven here at the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, and we see Lowendick in the number 72 car from P12 to P13, and now P15 is the number 72 so far.
Yep, Ted, another one of those playoff drivers that we're taking a look at here in 15th at the moment. Only 6 points above the cut line, but is getting a good points haul over Colt Lane. However, we'll be probably looking ahead a little bit. You've got Daniel Knight just a couple of cars in front, in fact just in front of him in that number 17 machine, and they are neck and neck in the playoff standings. 3 points separating them. They're 9th and 10th as it stands at the moment. So a lot of battles going on. I'm not too sure how much the drivers are actually paying attention to where their competitors are around them, but we can see it, those playoff drivers, when they have that little windshield banner. Probably the most helpful thing that like NASCAR has is those windshield banners to save playoffs. It's one of the greatest things as a commentator that you can ask for. Just makes your life really easy. You know, you can take one look at the car and know exactly what's going on. Great.
No, absolutely. If there's one thing I like about the NASCAR cars in general is the liberty you can take of, putting a paint. Of course, you can do that with the other cars. Yeah, absolutely you can, but I think for NASCAR cars, however, more than so the others, you see the liberty of, you see some very funky liveries, some meme adapted liveries like you probably see with Joey's car. But in general, you do have your creative expression being brought out for these cars going left all the way.
There is Joey Tebben, beautiful. I say beautiful.
Green.
The livery is fantastic. The Supra, I'm sorry, it's not a looker.
I agree.
It's not a looker.
No, it's not. No, I'm more of a Camaro guy, so I cannot.
Oh yes, I think that's the first thing that we have ever had in common.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For those who are not aware of the broadcast, of course, we have a race going on. We have some moves being done as a number 45 as Sean Powell makes the moves on Dustin Scruggs with the delays, with some mid-lane struggles over here on his stint. But me and Dane, we often bang heads with a few things, especially food.
We're
We're not going to get into that topic. Don't worry about that.
It's better
It's
for
just
everybody
completely-
watching that we don't get into that topic.
No, we're not gonna
Otherwise,
get into
Lorenzo will be here until much later than it already is. So I think that's a very good idea that we swiftly move on from that, and we'll go back towards the back end of the top 10 because they're side by side.
No, they're side by side. James Morgan, having a really good race so far. Came all the way from the back. You can see him trying to move up a little bit on the number 12, being slightly more aggressive than some of the other drivers here on the grid, as he's going to overtake Mike Knight on that inside lane. He's going to get that run on the outside of number 2, but he's going to be blocked by some drop that the number 68 is going to get on the entry of turn number 3 on the backstretch. But now the move is done, sealed. The number 12 of James Morgan, like I said, being, I think, the fastest climber of this race so far. I think he started this race about like 15-ish sort, now into the top 10. From what it looked like as well, maybe Sean Powell might be into some trouble in a little bit. 1/10 of a second separates the number 45 to Bradley Holly's 184. As Joey Tebben now on the outside of your screen, on the back of the screen, lost one position to Tyler Justice, and now Ted Lowendick his teammate is the other car in the back. But in the front, slight breakaway from Regan and Acosta already going on. More than 0.8 of a second separate the number 5 and 56 to the rest of the field here, Dane.
Yeah, you can see the gap down on the backstretch. It's quite a significant gap, but you can really tell that there's a substantial gap there. Acosta not making any moves on Reagan Jr. for now. We'll see if that's something by choice or if just doesn't quite have the pace to catch up to fully. And maybe it's also a little bit tactical, because obviously if you're not passing the car in front, do you really want to be sitting right behind them in that hot air? I don't think so, right? You want to be giving your car ample space to cool down and not overheat the tires. You don't want to be stuck in with the car in front of you corners, especially not if you're trying to get tire management going. So a lot of things definitely have to be thought about in that regard. And I think a 4-5/10 gap is quite good. It is all kicking off here at the back. I mean, they've been going at it all.
We're going to definitely get a yellow flag. 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars are going to be pulled. We got a big one over here. First yellow flag is out. That looked like to be, Calgill. You see Justice as well. Hunter might be involved into this sink already into the pit lane. Everything just kicked off.
Playoff drivers. Daniel Knight. Daniel Knight is who we're seeing on screen, and that car is not going anywhere fast. You can see the smoke coming out of the back of it. That was quite the incident.
And that kind of, you kind of stole what I was going to say, everything kicking off, and from what it looked to be, looked to be more dicey than usual here, Dane, and that was a danger spot. You were seeing movements being done, especially, for example, by James Morgan up in the field. And I think that was Mike Knight as well. They was trying to make some moves as well, but everything was just crunched one together between those cars, and you were thinking, all right, this is a disaster in the, waiting to happen. Something's gonna happen over here. You can kind of read the room a little bit, and unfortunately, as soon as you brought up on the screen, I'm not gonna even say commentator's curse on this one.
I mean, you can say commentator's curse. You can say cameraman's curse as well, I guess, as every single driver is making their way down into the pit road, and that is no surprise. It's been a good 15 minutes or so. They've done 27 laps, so yeah, get some fresh tires on, absolutely.
Yeah, as we're gonna, excuse me, it's gonna be quite interesting for those who are up in the back trying to claw up some spot. It seems who puts 2 tires instead of 4 tires. Some drivers already up in some odd places, like I think you can see even the number 19 being caught himself on a very tricky spot. Reagan Jr. coming out of that is already Morgan, I think, having a small jump from 9th all the way up to 7th spot from the number 12, and Reagan in front of Acosta, Powell in front of Holly. Basically, the top 5 is maintained. In the back, that's changed a little bit, but majorly Morgan already 2 more spots up in pit stops. We're gonna get the replay going on with Daniel Knight involved, as who that looked to be that merged onto his lane at the beginning of that chaos, and he gets involved with the number 6.
Yeah, we'll try and get another angle off of that as well, because there were a lot of cars that came flying through there, and not a whole lot of place to go, right? You're on the D, you're turning left, you've got the wall kind of at a weird angle all the time, and there's grass on the inside. It's a very odd space to try and make your way through a wreck that's happening, especially at the speeds that they were going. So no surprise that a couple of drivers got caught up in that as well. I'll see if I can grab a couple of more angles for us on that one, as we're going to be pacing for a little bit longer still.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the pace counter is going to go out, we're going to, you have time. You have, like, if you can get that under a minute, it's going to be great. But it's going to be quite interesting how that one will go. That might have looked like to be Matt Gagnon's car that nearly got a pin maneuvered from my perspective. But I could be highly incorrect, as now the cars are going to file up side by side. And we're going to have our first restart of the race. We saw that on the trucks. Yellows breed yellows. Is it going to be the case here? We don't know. We expect not it to be. But Reagan Jr. so far doing a stellar job of keeping Acosta at bay. So let's see what Acosta will do on this second green flag of this race, and if he's going to be more aggressive out of the gates with 32 minutes to go ish in this first restart of the Xfinity series here, the virtual track of Texas Motor Speedway at Fort Worth, Texas.
See what kind of start Reagan can get. Obviously got a good one off the initial launch into the restart zone.
Yeah, still staying close to the number 56 car, as he's going to wait all the way to the green flag. Late launch from the number 56. We are underway for the second time here at Texas Motor Speedway. And Acosta with a very, very crappy restart, as he's going to get overtaken by Powell. Scruggs might go into it as well. He gets slide into that inside, but we still go green. He's going to get a 3 wide with Morgan. And that number 4 of Reese Bogue on the outside. That could cause chaos, but everybody got away unscathed. Nothing between Bogue and Morgan, but somehow they survive.
Yeah, I have no idea how they've survived that, to be honest with you. That is quite ridiculous. A couple of different points of contact through turns 3 and 4 there. And yeah, that was looking all sorts of sketchy, but somehow they all hold on for now. I think it was Reese Bogue that got the initial touch to the rear bumper, and that very nearly sent him veering off into the wall, and we would have had a second caution. And of cautions would once again, as they did in the truck series, breed more caution. But for the time being, everybody keeping it mostly clean, which is what we like to see. And Lorenzo, yet again, another brilliant restart from Reagan. I think he's really got that down.
Yeah, he got that down, but that is Matt Gaillon, just scrapping that outside wall at the entering turn number 1. How much of a damage that will do on the side panel of the number 14 car on the long run, we still have yet to see, but that could be potential trouble for the number 14 car, which I think that was the one that got involved on the yellow flag that got caused by Daniel Knight, as he's now followed closely by the number 25, Danny Cervantes. Cervantes in the inside, followed by Tebben. Does he make the move? Yeah, he does. So the number 25 of Cervantes goes one up, and now Tebben wants a piece of the pie as well.
He certainly does, and it's all getting a little bit scrappy here once again. This is exactly what we were seeing just before the first wreck, and with exactly 30 minutes on the clock remaining in this one, hopefully we don't end up with another caution just yet. Another little touch to the wall, it looked like there, from the 14, I believe. So interesting. See, maybe he's struggling with the walls in the D section, but they're side by side up ahead, 2 rows deep. This could get sketchy very quickly.
Yeah, we can see Knight maybe with James Morgan and also Reese Bogue as well involved into this. That was also the Adam Zenke moving a few spots up. So everything getting away right now. And now we can see that Morgan trying to be aggressive on the inside lane, as we're going to nearly see 3 wide. As he goes on the inside of Bogue, outside is going to be Mike Knight. They nearly 4 and 3 wide. Knight has to yield back a little bit and share some draft as they go into 3 and 4 one more time.
Yep, they really are trying to go 3 wide here, and
contact.
So nearly a little touch. Oh, a bigger touch. The 68 into the wall. He's going to collect some drivers. We're going to have a yellow, surely. Surely we get a yellow. He's down onto the infield. No. We're not going to get a yellow. Or are we going to get a yellow once he comes back onto the track? I think we've survived. Wow. Has no one else hit him?
No, actually, just Joey. Joey was the only guy that hit him. And he hit him hard on the front panel. So we expect Joey to drop back a few spots. I even saw Joey's bumper, not bumper, but, the bonnet coming out of his hood, and that could incite some front arrow trouble for our fellow RaceSpot commentator. But let's see how he will deal with that as the race moves on. But, wow. I know Texas is a track that can play some very devilish cards, but I did not see that one coming. Of not being triggered the yellow flag, especially in a certain circumstance like that.
Yeah, that was quite a shock. It just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, car on the wall, and it spun back across the racetrack. Obviously, goes into the outside wall, comes back across into the infield, and somehow we've all avoided it, and we stay green. So good job to all the drivers for managing to avoid that. We will try and get a second look at it because I want to. That was quite spectacular.
Yeah, and you kind of saw the contact happening between Bogue and Morgan a little bit. They come back on the outside, and unfortunately, the bigger contact, it is done between the cars, and fortunately for them, everybody just stayed in the track. That was actually Mike Knight's car. Mike is actually in the pit lane, so some hefty damage on the number 68 car on the quarter panel, probably for him. So he's probably done for the day here. Dane, unfortunately for him, he probably wanted that really good result, but still a lot of racing left. The number 33 scraps the wall. That's Kipe, hitting the wall a little bit. Does that provide some damage on the number 23? We don't know, but the number 24 in P14, looming large on his back panel, might try to make the move on the exit of number 2, but they get away 2-1 and somehow survives the day. But here we go, side by side is the number 24. Inside, it's going to have a little bit of the draft to push to him on that outside. Do they make contact? No, they don't, but nearly that was dangerous, as they're going to nearly form 3 wide, coming outside of tri-oval into turn number 1.
Yep, it is once again good hard racing done by these folks up here in the midfield of this field. And wow, they're side by side, 2 rows deep now, 23 outside of the 24. They're making their way back round through turns 3 and 4 once again, as are Kalen and Gagnon in front of them, and almost a little bit of contact once again as they make their way through the D. And now it starts to get a little bit sketchy because they're onto some relatively older tires now at this point as well. They've been on these for quite a while now, so they'll want to be a little bit more cautious perhaps as the 62 of Kalen around the outside, holding it there, inches between the 2 cars.
Yeah, and also seeing Silver's car, really getting a really strong run on the exit of turn number 2, nearly sealing the deal and making a 3 wide with Gagnon on the middle. That would have been the sandwich of the moment for him. But so far, the number 24 having some really strong statements here on this first restart of this race. And Kalen with a very good hold on the outside lane. And you were saying probably nearly making contact on the outside of turn number 4. And there's one thing these cars get. They get more loose. We're going to look on the replay of what happened between Morgan and Knight on the merge of turn number 4. Like I said before, cars do get loose a little bit, and Knight just getting the short stick. But most importantly, Kevin, Joey getting the shortest stick of them all, making contact on the front panel with the number 68.
Yeah, and very unfortunate there for Joey, but is still able to obviously keep running, and I guess that is probably the most important thing. It's all getting very sketchy here.
Yeah, I think Gagnon scraped the wall a little bit and also got into the rear bump contact with Silver. Silver on the inside easily makes the move now. The Gagnon scraping the wall once again. He goes back into P413. Is the number 14. We'll get a pressure by Westerfield. We know Westerfield is one of those guys that are in the playoff points, but not in a very comfortable spot over here. He needs all the points he can get, so he's definitely going to move forward on that number 14 car in front of him. So we expect the 35 to be more aggressive early on, making that read of, the number 14 is making mistakes I want to take advantage of and see if Colton Lane can not get him away as well. As now Morgan has to defend off as well in front of him from Mike Kalen. Kalen on the inside of the number 12. He's going to make the move on James Morgan. Morgan trying to fight on the outside, but the number 62, much tighter line into that inside, and definitely is going to make that move stick on the number 12 with the 24 in tow.
Yep, they're still side by side now as well, and just about head their way into single file. But now we've got the 14 of Gagnon looking to the inside of Morgan. Those two are going to go side by side once again, and 24 looking to the inside of the 62 in front, but Kalen holds on to that 10th spot for the time being. Just having a look a little bit further up the field, and they are all still very much single file, so we will stick here just outside of the top 10. But we'll be keeping an eye on what happens up in front.
Yeah, because we're not talking about the lead that much, but let me just bring that up. Look at the gap between Reagan and Powell so far. That's the first time we've seen in this race where Reagan has a second gap or a very comfortable gap on someone this entire race. He didn't have that with Abner Acosta. He now has with Sean Powell. Here he goes. Kibe, Lane, Morgan fighting for battles as now Lane goes up one up. Kibe trying to move forward on that inside lane. Morgan struggling with since the restart with that car. Definitely damage that he has with Mike Knight is paying his dues to the number 12 car.
Yep, as they make their way now onto the 50th lap of this race so far. We've been going for about half an hour at this point with the one caution, of course. So cars are going to start to get a little bit less happy, starting to creep into the 32-second lap time. So, yeah, we're getting quite a bit further off the pace. We're looking at about a 1.5 second drop-off compared to when those tires are nice and fresh. That is, and yeah, it's making some optimal situations for these drivers as once again that 14 into the wall. That's what, the 4th, 5th time we've seen that now?
To say the very least. It's the nature of these cars. Like I said before, they do get very loose. Dane, and I've always been told, and I kind of talked with this with Michael Conti, once he was giving my team a coaching session, that the Xfinity cars of sort, you kind of have to drive them like a little baby at the very early portions of a race. You really don't want to stretch out the tires way that much, because you really want that rubber on the second half of the stint. If you go on a long green flag stint like we have right now, and because that rubber you didn't waste on at the early portions is going to make a huge difference. And when he says a huge difference, is like a 2/10 of a second difference on the competitor ahead of you or behind you, depending on the circumstances. So it's quite of an interesting car for you to navigate on, and for you to extract the best out of the car. And that's why they say, it draws some comparison lines to the Sprint Cup car, where you really don't want to be aggressive. You really want to be consistent and very, very careful with your inputs on the car, because even the slightest lock on the car itself, as now Lane makes one up on Westerfield, gives you that feedback and that grip necessary for you to make moves on late portions where it becomes key moments in this race.
Yeah, and you talk about the difference between the tires. At the start of a stint where everybody's got the same tires, everyone has the same tires, you're not getting an advantage of sorts by making any sort of moves and using up those tires at the beginning of the race. However, nearer towards the end of the stint, when your tires are really worn, everyone's tires are really worn, if you've managed to keep your tires in a better shape, you then have an advantage. Whereas at the start of the race, you don't really. If you have an advantage over someone at the start of the race, it means you're using too much tire, right? So you got to really be careful with that strategy. Is now we make our way into an interesting point in the race, because you can pit and make it to the end quite easily. Yeah. If we do get a caution, now we're going to start seeing, do people pit, do people not pit? We saw two wild strategies play off to perfection somehow in the truck race. What do you think we're going to sort of see? Do you think we're going to get another caution in this race? I mean, they have been looking pretty racy, but now they're spreading out.
Yeah, they're spreading out a little bit. It's not getting as packy as we saw at the start of this race over here, Dane. But the interesting aspect for us is that as we move forward, we saw that late run from Fairclough, Macy, and everybody else in the truck series kind of paid off for them, for Fairclough and also Macy getting P2 and P3 relatively in that truck race. But of course, shorter race, 40 minutes over here. You get 15 minutes. As now Kibe, just scrapping the wall on that outside of turn number 4, and if you know how to operate the car over here, on a late stint, fuel saving does become a little bit of a trick issue, because you're fighting so close. You're always sticking so close to other cars at the restart of the race. You don't know if you should move forward or be more conservative and work the field for a longer run and maybe get the advantage on the other cars of a potential yellow flag. So it becomes more of a more delicate chess match than the truck cars itself here at the PRL series. So for those, I would say maybe like Mark Kalin, Reese Bowe, Danny Cervantes, Adam Zemke, maybe even Jeff Evans, who find themselves in this conundrum they are in right now. I would say maybe, just play safe with the card that you have. Maybe if you really don't want to strategize something different, come into the 15-minute remaining for a different strategy and see where it takes you. As now, from what it looked like to be, Doug Evans having some issues and got overtaken by Matt Gagnon.
Yeah, it did. I think Gagnon lost that position for a brief moment, and Doug Evans couldn't hold on to it for the time being. Doug Evans now under some threat from Brett Pancari, who is looking very quick indeed and making his way in that number 19 machine onto the high line. And it's something that we haven't seen a whole lot of when they're running single file, but now we're starting to see a bit more. I think Joey Tebben was running it up the high line a bit earlier on before the caution, but using that high line, using the different lines on the racetrack to try and get some extra speed, get some differential between yourself and the car in front. And it's interesting to see that most of the drivers still choosing for that low line. No one running up way high just yet. Maybe that will change a bit later on in the stint.
No, it's going to be quite an interesting one if anybody takes a more highline, just see how they're gonna. It leads them at the end of things. Now you can see the highline being played by the Brett Bakari. Is he gonna get a better run on Evans coming out of turn number 4? Does he has a run? Does he have that run to make that overtaking on turn number 1? No, he doesn't. He backs out a little bit. Just let Evan make the job of being aggressive in turn number 1. He's gonna lose some ground, obviously, to Gaillon, and he's gonna allow the number 19 not to be on that inside lane. Maybe try to dive the car into the inside. No, he doesn't. Meanwhile, in the front here, Dustin Scruggs trying to battle the position with Jeff Evans, followed by Adam Zemke closely into that inside line of turn number 1. They get into line 1, line 2 for Scruggs, and he's going to lose the position, obviously, to Evans, but does he lose to Zemke as well? Is it a 2 for 1 or 1 for 2 in that position, rather? For Scruggs, so far, he survives for the time being. Question is, can he survive for another set of 2 turns? Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, that inside line is not looking too strong at the second, and he's actually just about managed to hold on the 57. There it is, and Dustin, on the outside, losing out a couple of positions there into P7 now, and we'll have to try and catch back up because there's a little bit of ground as well. We'll take a look through the field and try and figure out what exactly is going on with all of our drivers. Has anyone decided to make their way down to the pit lane yet? I don't think so. With 15 minutes left in this race, it's starting to get into some crunch time, but just looking at out in front, we've actually got Nick Silver into the pits.
Yeah, our first one, into the pit lane, and now we're going to start seeing the gambles, of those drivers coming in. Who at the back looks to be
Hunter
coming in as well? Hunter. I don't know if that Hunter actually got into that without having actually a penalty of speeding into the pit lane. So that looked like to be really close for Hunter. So
and here's the leader.
Regan, here he comes. So pit stops are well on the way for everybody except for Sean Powell, Abner Costa, Jeff Evans, and Scruggs so far, who decided to remain on the track for one more lap.
And that was looking pretty sketchy as well on the entry of the pit lane. I'm pretty sure I saw a car like 90 degrees to the racing direction. So that was certainly interesting. Into the front pit box goes then Richard Reagan Jr. We'll see. Nice and quick. Very quick.
Yeah, he goes out quite quickly. That looked like to be like 14 seconds for...
Sean Powell still in the pit box for a second there, I think.
Yeah, but he's coming out. He got a little bit longer than usual, but he's going to come out on 7th place, maybe come out on 8th place. He's going to be the number 45 car, so something might have happened to that, to the number 45.
Oh, he didn't pit, didn't he? That's my bad.
He just pit it. Question is, when does Costas, Evans, Scruggs, and Kalen and Kibay come in? Because, now they become basically the fair cloth of the situation, right? Trying to stay for longer. We know that Acosta is going to get overtaken by or unlapped by Reagan. Here he goes. So now he's within the same lead lap of Acosta, and we expect the number 5 to come into the pit lane anytime soon. But
just yet?
No, not just yet. In that surprises me 0%. Because if there's one thing he probably is, and if he is where I think he is on the private label team hype channel, as now Zemke scraps the wall kind of hard on that turn number 4 exit. Does he get damaged from the quarter panel enough to unsaddle the balance of the car? No, it doesn't, but it gets more dangerous, and for them, this could breed for Acosta, Evans, Scruggs the same situation that's happened to the trucks,
Yeah, I mean, they've been racing each other incredibly hard all race long so far, so it would not surprise me if they get out of the pit lane and they're straight back at it again, this time with some fresh rubber, and that could be important because they're going to be at much different speeds. They're going to be able to carry much more speed through the corner. And it's going to be interesting to see how they use that speed to their advantage. Obviously, a couple of drivers still opting for that slightly higher line. Is a little bit of side-to-side contact. He's stored him out of the way. The 60's going to lose a couple of places, but at least stays on the racetrack.
Yeah, so near contact between Cervantes, from what it looked like, then Zemke coming out of turn number 2. Fortunately for them, sorry, actually, turn number 3 that was between Cervantes and Zemke, but somehow, some way, Zemke keeps that car on the track. Now you can see them overtaking this Joey. Joey just come out of the pit lane. Question is that front panel of his car repaired? Doesn't look like it is repaired, so he's going to be in a world of trouble moving forward, losing the position to Colton. Now they all overtake Waylon Turner, so Costa, Evans, and Scruggs still, waiting on a potential yellow flag that could, seal the deal for them, just like it did on the truck race, not a few minutes back, nearly a full hour back.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some absolutely crazy stuff go down at the last 10 minutes or so of that truck race. We'll see what happens here as we're into that final 10 minutes period in the Xfinity race. This is where we saw the caution in the truck race, and they're racing each other incredibly hard. It would be no surprise to anyone to see that yellow flag come back out, if not once, maybe 2 more times here at Texas Motor Speedway for this first round of the 4th quarter of the year in the PRL Xfinity Series. They're almost going to go 3 wide. They are 3 wide. The 57's nose is just about there. Oh, in the middle, getting loose. There's the number 4 of Reese. Bogue has just about done it, and somehow they're all still going.
Yeah, somehow Zemke survived that contact with Bogue. Bogue just getting slightly aggressive. Here they come now, cutting across a back marker, trying to chase down Nick Silver, which is right in front of them. So that number 24 who pitted first, he dug in first, and everybody else is going to have the worst tires for wear than everybody else. So let's just see how the number 24 fends off the rest of the field moving forward. But Zemke and Cervantes surely over here at this point of the race, Dane, not making a lot of friends with the moves they're making so far. Aggressive is the name of the game so far. If you really want to, try to stay within the reality of overlapping Acosta whenever Acosta and friends whenever they come to the pit lane in a little bit. If we go green all the way.
I'm starting to think now, with Acosta, there isn't a chance that they can to the end of the race, right? I mean, they did pit.
No.
At the start, they've been going 46 laps. They're not making the end. I did have a little bit of a hang on a minute, but no. I think we can rule that out.
If there's one thing I've learned through my whole years commentating like IndyCar leagues, when the people of the private label team have like Jason Brophy, I even forgot some of the names, in there. They're gonna kill me. Joshua Chin and everybody else in the team. They know how to operate their fuel numbers. They usually were like the late pit stoppers all race whenever I was commentating. But the thing is, does it work in a race like this for them? Because it's the danger zone. You can see them unlapping themselves on Abner Acosta. So it's like, is it worth the risk for Acosta to, be the late pit stopper, come into the pit lane, do the tire change, and still have that brute force in the car to try to maybe get the positions on Richard Reagan and everybody else? Because at this point of the race, if he comes out, it's like you would be coming out nearly 10 seconds off from Reagan Hawley, and eventually Cervantes, which might be in a really good spot over here on this final moments of this race if we go all the way.
Oh, looking a little bit further back in James Morgan and Richard Reagan Jr., they're going side by side just a little bit there. And obviously this is Richard Reagan getting up front of Morgan, and now only 18 seconds off of Acosta in the lead. Surely Acosta's got to make their way down into the pits this time by, or if not the next, if they want to have a chance of the win in this race. It is awkward though when you've got faster cars behind you, right? Because you can't really slow down on the racing line, but if you get put up high into turns 3 and 4, what do? You just got to slow down and take the L, I guess. Like, you got to get down to the pit road, then you can't go through the car next to you. You got to go behind them, and that's the risk that's being taken right now. But with 6 minutes to go, yeah, you got to pit at some point. Surely, come on.
If he doesn't pit, I'll give Jason Brophy and everybody else on the team like a medal for strategy. I pick on him the entire time. It's been a thing since 2020, 21 ish, but I've always given the team their props. They know how to strategize the field. I don't know if they got the numbers over here. I'm gonna be very honest with you. It might come down to the wire, and it really come down to the wire. But so far, Acosta with a risky strategy that is paying off. Reagan is not decreasing his time quite a lot on the number 5 car. He's keeping him at bay quite considerably. And if this were for the next 5 minutes and 40 seconds, it for Reagan is going to be demoralizing 100%, because you see your direct competition in P1, right? Your competition is in P1. You are P5. You are top 5. You might get 4th place in a little bit, maybe 3rd place, depending on circumstances. But you are risking yourself on losing so many points on a championship where now every single point matters, and you have only 10 races to do so, right? And you are quite far back. You are more than 100 points back from your competition in this championship. So, all right, not more than 100, but about 30 points nearly from your competition in the championship. So less than 5 minutes here remaining, Dane. So it's going to be quite interesting to take a look at on Acosta's shenaniganery, as now Colton Lane makes one spot up on RaceSpot, as now the number 4 is still struggling with that set of tires to try to still stay within that top 15.
I mean, I'm still under the impression that Acosta's wanting to go to the end, and I don't know if it's possible. If it is the case, then Acosta knows you've got the fuel to do it, but that would be a massive play. I mean, you still got Richard Reagan. He's 14 seconds back. Was someone riding the wall?
Who's taking that? Is that Joey?
Is it Joey? It is Joey. Yep, it is.
It is Joey. Oh my God.
I mean, is anybody? No one's surprised. Absolutely nobody is surprised by that.
No, nobody's surprised.
Although we do have some cars here. A caution right now, by the way, would end the race. I'm pretty sure, right? So
100%.
that is something that Acosta got to keep an eye on as well. And Richard Reagan Jr. I mean, Acosta might have played a masterclass here. Did everybody pit for no reason? That's the question now. Has everyone pitted for no reason? Richard Reagan Jr. has got about 3 minutes, so it's 6 laps to gain 14 seconds. I don't see it happening. I don't see that happening. I think Acosta played a masterclass here.
And like I said before, that would not surprise me at all.
The entire field, bar, 5 cars? We'll call it 5 cars pitted.
Yeah.
They've pitted about 20 laps ago.
More than 20 laps ago. Easily more than 20 laps ago. And somehow, some way, Costa, Evans, Scruggs, Bakari.
I think Bakari is in danger.
Bakari's in danger.
Scruggs is in danger. But Acosta and maybe Evans? I think probably Evans at this point. Reagan's not closing enough.
Here's the thing. If Evans is in danger, if Reagan cuts down by 1 second on him on the next 1.2 seconds, and he doesn't get concerned over, like he overtakes Bakari fast and efficiently.
Oh, there
just
we go.
Got away from
That's just happened.
Bakari.
And now Scruggs up in front as well. Here's Scruggs with traffic.
Jeff Evans is safe.
Yeah.
If he comes into the pit box, it's because he doesn't have fuel, but he's safe. He's very safe.
We'll take a look at this for the time being then. Richard Reagan Jr. for the podium. You got the 11 car in front of you. You've got about 4 laps to go in this race. It's a gap of a second. And he's closing in. Look at the speed.
He's going to close on Scruggs. 100%. That is like a matter of...
Oh, wow. Look at that. He's already got it. look at this onto the back stretch, and that gap that was what, a second? Did I say? Yeah, it's 0.2 of a second now. So that is that is a done move. We'll just wait to see it happen down towards the inside. Drugs are going to give him the inside line, squeezes him, and he's got the nose ahead. There we go.
Yeah, and nothing that Scruggs can do about it. He makes that overtake, goes into P3 here, Dane. And now 1 minute remaining, 2 laps to go. Where is Acosta at all things? He's
a
at
beautiful
the
9
entry.
seconds ahead.
A beautiful 9 seconds ahead at the entry, turn number 3. All that Acosta can do is coast the car. Sorry, I had a pun, but I'm not gonna do a Chaz Drake card pun over here. 2 laps to go. Goes into turn number 1. Nice and easy for the number 5. Acosta things. It is going to happen in this race, and the private label Team Hype driver is going to win this race. He's taking it slowly, so basically he's master clutching that car, master coasting that car. He's gonna open up that final lap. Jeff Evans 3.8 seconds, 3.9, but still safe nevertheless. Reagan now 4 seconds away. This becomes a fuel race for now Evans and Acosta. Does Reagan have the fuel and the speed to reach Evans, as we are now on the final lap here? Dane, I don't think so, as now Acosta goes into turn number 3. Nice and easy. Number 5 just chilling on that car. Here he comes, carrying the car onto turn number 4. And with that said, a little bit of a wiggle, but Abner Acosta is going to be your Texas winner here at the PRL Xfinity Series, with Jeff Evans in second place. And Richard Reagan is going to finish in third. And now we see the other drivers coming in, and Acosta just decided to display to everybody else that they can do fuel numbers. What a race. What a race from Acosta. That is a masterclass of fuel.
That is. Every single driver, bar 5 drivers, pitted about 25, I would say 25, maybe to 30 laps. About 30 laps. We'll call it 30 laps before the end of this race. They all pitted for fuel, and they all pitted and took some tires. And Acosta and 4 of the drivers said, no, we don't need to. And they've made it to the end of the race. What a masterclass in strategy is. Turned around in the end by the 56, who I think actually might have been helping him along. Does he have fuel to get going again?
No, he doesn't have fuel. His car is out.
Completely out of fuel. Wow. That is impressive fuel calculations there. Are they going to get the memo? I think they are. They're going to try and push them along back onto the infield, but what a strategy call by those 5 drivers, including the race winner.
Just a quick question. Is this PG what the other car was doing?
We won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. Right?
I know. It's like I was just frowning my head at the thought. But nevertheless, here's Richard Reagan Jr. taking the Precision Racing team driver into the trial for the celebration dance.
Is he going to spin him around for some donuts as well? Please do. That'd just be so fantastic. Turn him around. Pit him. Yeah,
yes. Let's go.
That's brilliant sportsmanship there. You love to see it. The championship rivals, right? And yeah, beautiful stuff from them, and we love to see it. Amazing strategy call by those drivers there. You've got to say, Acosta, just absolutely fantastic. Lorenzo, let's take a look at our race results then for the Xfinity Series here at Texas Motor Speedway. And it's all a little bit spread out after the end of this one, after 90 laps of racing.
No, absolutely, yes. Abner Acosta takes her checkered flag at the top of the standings with Jeff Evans. Another driver that didn't pit, getting that reward in second place. Richard Reagan, which was the first that actually pitted, in third place. And Dustin Scruggs didn't pit, fourth place. Ran out of fuel towards the end portion of the race, but still got a top 5. Bradley Holly in 5th. James Morgan 6th place. Good race for that number 12 car, despite the issues that he had in the mid portion of the race. Denny Cervantes in 7th. Nick Silver in 8th place, Colton Lane in 9th place, Adam Zemke round out your top 10 at Virtual Texas Motor Speedway. Mark Galen in 11th, Reese Boak 12th, Jim Westerfield, Brett Pancari, Matt Gagnon, Doug Evans, Nick McLaughlin, and the things being the last car within the lead lap in 17th place. Waylon Turner, Chad Kibe, Jacob Emery round out your top 20. Let's see the other cars that finished this race. We had also other finish like Sean Powell. Unfortunately, some for what looked like to be pit issues that got the number 45 from second place all the way back to P21. Nick Byer in 22nd. Nicholas Hunter in 23rd. Joey Tebben, our racing spot zone in 24th. Tyler Justice, John T. Jones, Thomas Sink, Mike Knight, Ted Lowendeck, and Daniel Knight round out your top 30. And then we have two more cars that got involved early on with Patrick Calgill and Dominic Begin in 30th, first and 30th. Second fast lap by Danny Cervantes on lap 65 here at the Virtual Texas Motor Speedway. We saw a masterclass being done by Mr. Abner Acosta, but now we got some drivers to interview here. Dan, let's bring the first one. Let's bring Richard Reagan Jr., our third place here in this race. Dan, you wanna take on this guy?
Yeah, I certainly will. And Richard, that was a brilliant race out there in Texas Motor Speedway. I do just want to ask you, in terms of the strategy of this race, we had the caution relatively early on. How did that shake up there?
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see the caution come out maybe 5 or 8 laps later than it did. So we wouldn't have had that pit strategy stuff going on, but or 5 laps earlier would have been nicer too, because it would have forced Abner to pit. But yeah, I mean, that's the game of racing. You can't always predict when the cautions are going to come out. And even though we gave away the win, I still felt like the best way for me to finish the highest was to pit there. So congrats to Abner for saving the fuel, and we have some good momentum going into Talladega next week.
Yeah, and I'll ask you about Talladega. Obviously, super speedway, longest, widest, highest banking. It's a ridiculous behemoth of a circuit. What sort of strategy do you bring into a circuit, an oval like that, where really anything can happen? Is it just make your way towards the front and try and survive?
Yeah, it depends on how you qualify. If I qualify in the top 5, I usually try to stay up front. But if we're in the middle of the pack, definitely got to drop back and play survivor mode. Especially we got like 33 cars in here this season. So yeah, usually as long as we have a good qualifying effort, we usually tend to stay up front there, and we'll have a good shot at the win next week.
Well, that's certainly interesting. We hope to see you do a good job out there in Talladega, and obviously doing well for your playoff championship run as well. So congratulations on that 3rd position, Richard, and we will see you next week.
Yep, thank you. Let me give a shout out to Multiple Sclerosis Society, Mission 22, Neonism Paints, Regan Bogue Motorsports, Danny, Matt, Nick, Garrett, and Zach on the truck side, and Colton. Let me give a shout out to CM Pennington. We're all racing in memory of CM Pennington and trying to give thanks to what he's done for the league, and unfortunate situation for him, and we hope the best. And give a shout out to everyone at the PRL and you guys at RaceSpot.
Well, thank you very much. Some lovely words there as well. Richard Regan Jr. there in 3rd position here at Texas Speedway. Lanzo, we've got the rest of our top 2 here as well. Who do you want next?
Yeah, let me bring Jeff Evans over here in the broadcast booth. So, Jeff, first and foremost, congratulations on that 2nd spot. And it just like Acosta, where did you see that you were safe in terms of fuel?
Coming to the white flag. I had Tom Sink asking me about every 2 or 3 laps. Are you good? Are you good? And every time I answered, I was like, maybe. I'm not 100% sure yet. So coming to the white, I knew I was good. But it was pretty sketchy there for a minute.
Hey, but sketchy things sometimes get you into good places. We saw the trucks over here. Here's not different. So 2nd place, that is always well and welcome. Now, transitioning to a fast track to another fast track. We go from Texas to Talladega. What do you think about that track specifically?
I mean, I've had a history of running pretty well there. But it's such a like a game of chance, basically. I mean, one person slips up 10 rows up in front of you, and your race could be over. Especially now with this new damage model, where everything seems to be a bit more fragile. So, it'll be interesting. Just gotta hope to keep it clean and be there at the end.
Absolutely, Jeff. And again, man, congratulations on that second place. That was well walking for you. Hard fought and well earned. And we'll see you next week at the Super Speedway to see what you're gonna do there.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And finally, Dan, we're gonna bring the man of the hour, the man of the day, and here we go. Abner, first and foremost, whose idea was it for you to not refuel the car?
Well, it was mine, but at some point during the stint, I noticed, I don't think it was doing that good. Like I couldn't save my tires enough. I just didn't think, honestly, that I could beat Richard or Sean. So at some point after that last restart, I looked at my fuel calculator and I was like, maybe I can make that. So I just started saving from the get-go, and just kind of stuck to it and hope no yellows came out, and barely made it. I actually ran out, like turned 3 and 4, but yeah, I got lucky.
I figured as much. I'm not gonna lie to you, Abner, but hey, if that's what you got to do to win, that's well earned, man. So first and foremost, on my behalf, congratulations on that end. And now we take you. You are the points leader so far into this playoffs. You are basically at the driver's seat into this playoffs. But look at the calendar this season. Is there any track that might get you the wrong way or make you feel a little bit oh, this could be a problem for me if we are like depending on points for this championship?
I think for the most part, probably this one. And if we do have a super speedway, I always worry in those. Don't enjoy the racing there. Yeah, so any super speedway, I honestly don't enjoy that type of racing. I think I do fine on them, but I just hate the whole waiting until the last 5 laps to do something. Just not. I don't consider them fun, and anything can happen. Is always a wild card. So I would say, yeah, Talladega.
Absolutely, Abner, man. Me and Dan, we can say we are in awe for what you've done with the fuel strategy. You and the other boys enjoy that victory, man, and we can't wait to see what you're gonna do next week at Talladega and all the bump drafting shenaniganry.
Yeah, not a problem. I want to thank before I head out of here. I want to thank everybody at PRL for doing the CM Pennington schemes, and my paint scheme is one of his throwbacks to what he usually runs. Thanks to Jeff for making it for me, and I guess maybe that was the little bit of luck that I got there at the end to make it. So if CM is watching, we're cheering for him. Everybody here at PRL, thank you. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Abner. And that was the winner, Abner Acosta. Here, Dane. Just throwbacks. Let's see the calendar before we wrap up our broadcast over here of the double action at Texas Motor Speedway for the Xfinity Series. We started at Texas. When we go into Talladega next week, then we get into Charlotte, Las Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, Phoenix, Chicagoland, Dover. We get a break for Thanksgiving in between Dover, and then we wrap up at the Auto Club Speedway. So we started with the fast track, we ended with the fast track. Dane, this calendar promises to be really good. The season promises to be a banger, for not just at this round, but all other rounds as well.
Yeah, we saw some brilliant racing in both the trucks and the Xfinity Series, so I absolutely cannot wait to head our way over to a track that never disappoints. It is the big one. It is the Super Speedway. It is, of course, Talladega, the infamous oval in Alabama. And what a fantastic place to go racing. It's very stressful. It's absolutely packed racing. We're going to see 3 wide. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And so I absolutely cannot wait to see what we get from both our truck series and our Xfinity series when we come back out here next week.
Absolutely. It's going to be great to see Talladega, the 2 mile and 2 2/3 speed super speedway, to be raced on here at RaceSpot on September 27 or next Wednesday. So it's going to be quite interesting for us to go through on behalf of the entire RaceSpot crew, on behalf of Dane Baird. I'm Lorenzo Bondro. I would like to thank everybody who ran with the CM Pennington. Stay strong, brother, on that fight. Never give up. And we'll see you next week for round 2 of the Precision Racing League Truck and Xfinity Series. For now, we say goodbye and take care.